for Foreest. In particular, that he is a creative player who likes to, to have some sort of crazy positions or some ideas, and then he has basically to defend stubbornly and probably for many hours to hold this draw. So Anish obviously can be happy with an outcome of the opening. Whether it would be sufficient to convert, I don't know, but he has to. I mean, if he doesn't win this one, he doesn't qualify. As simple as that. I mean, then he needs to win 2 games, and even that may be not sufficient because Anish has not a great tiebreak. He didn't play 2,700 players because he's high rated himself. So for him, he now needs to strike and to win this one.
Yeah, well...
Easier said than done, yeah.
Exactly, easier said than done. And would you say that this is the kind of position that Anish is comfortable in the sense that, I've always thought of him as a rather technical player. I mean, he's got the bishop pair, but...
He's a technical player, right. He obviously enjoys his position, but how comfortable he is, he doesn't look like excessively happy. But neither Van Foreest does, so...
Jordan Van Foreest, I feel like he needs to win. If he's on 5.5, but he's doing like a submarine coming from below. And Jordan, a very creative player, as you mentioned yesterday, winning a fabulous game against Shakarian Mamedyarov. And you do feel like here, you're just simply surviving.
But here he has to, because his opening choice, he played Catalan, which was okay, but then he didn't know the opening too well, and Anish managed to surprise him. And when encountering some opening surprise, Jordan played the safest way, but which led him to the position which he has to basically to defend and to defend without much hope of more than half a point.
Yeah. Okay. Very classical game, I would say.
Yeah.
Here, I mean, this is a type that you could read in the textbooks. And I'm going to move it along to the next game between Hans Niemann against Abhimanyu Mishra, because this one is a lot more modern day chess. I mean, H2, H4, and we have some questions. And the first question I want to put.
Let's start from here. That's H4, the move which was, let's say, even 15 years ago, it would be unimaginable on the top level, but in last years we all learned that pushing the H pawn is always should be considered, let's put it this way. And H4 became one of the topical moves either after knight c3 d5 or immediate H4.
Yeah.
So it was played quickly, but and see the reaction, typical computer reaction, because Mishra was ready. Played d5, cd, c5, exciting. But Hans was also knew this line, so slowly it moved to the position where black has some compensation, white has an extra pawn. But I think the last move of Hans, knight g5, was not the best according to engines. I mean, probably simple castles or h5 were to be preferred. He played knight g5, probably with the idea that after h6 he would have g4. Yeah.
Yep.
But Mishra answered with e5, and now Hans has to enter some crazy complications because e5 looks not so good because f7 pawn looks weak. You can play bishop c4 allegedly, but after bishop c4 probably black can protect it with rook e7 and still doing not too bad. And after d5 black can jump in with knight d4. And one of the most exciting games before the round. I expected that if anyone to win here, he will qualify.
Wow.
That's my take on this one. Yeah, if anyone in this match will win, he will make his way.
And you mentioned like H4 earlier on. This is seen, and this is very much something that was popularized by Alpha Zero. And I mentioned this because we asked some of the chess players, "What is your favorite chess book?" But before we watch that video, I'm going to put the question to you, Emil.
Well, good topic. I mean, of course, with the times is changing. As a kid, I was fascinated. Of course, there were some books for kids, and then maybe first serious books which I enjoyed a lot and benefited great time from studying were from David Bronstein, 1953 candidates, and Akiba Rubinstein by Yuri Razuev. This was not only an first, let's say, connection to some really serious chess, but also it gave me a lot of ideas how chess players think, how nuanced the whole preparation and also during the game. But of course, as my play evolved, my chess taste also, let's say, fluctuated, and I was in Dvoretsky chess school, so I read a lot of his books, or rather even examples which later entered his books in 1990s, and these are among my favorite books as well. Talking about modern times, the last book which I regard like probably the best book of last decade is Game Changer by Matthew Sadler and Natasha Regan. It's exactly about the AlphaZero and the way how computers, let's put it, think, or how the lasting approach is what I like, because this type of approach is something that I intuitively tend to apply in my games. Of course, not to such an extent and excellence, where you sacrifice something for the lasting initiative, for something that impossible to calculate will manifest itself in maybe in 5 moves, maybe in 10 moves. And absolutely mind-blowing book. I love it a lot, and I recommend it to everyone. For the strong players, it could give you inspiration, and you could okay, strong players, what you define as strong players, let's say for 2000 and above, that would give you an inspiration, and it would give you probably the ability to sacrifice more without a concrete justification, but to learn what are the patterns that allow you to sacrifice even if you don't see the way forward immediately, because the positional sacrifices which are analyzed there are lasting, and it's talking about the initiative.
Right. And yeah, I remember when these games were released by AlphaZero, and I think someone described it as watching an alien play chess. And it completely changed the whole nature of the way the top players played the game. Because before it was very much along the stockfish kind of line. You play with like route calculation and just holding on to material. And here suddenly it was like positional chess, where you were sacrificing pawns, and the English school of chess was justified because we've been advocating pushing the H pawn for a long time. And it's interesting that you mentioned Dvoretsky, because have a look at this video where we find out some of the top players' favorite chess books.
What is your favorite chess book?
Good question. I guess would definitely be one of Dvoretsky's books, but I'm not sure which one.
I guess the series of Kasparov, my great predecessors.
Well, if you take aside my books, maybe no. I learned from Keyboard and Tape by Yuri Razubarev.
There's so many choices, but the very first book I had was Traps and Saps, E4, E5 by Bruce Pandolfini, and I really enjoy reading his books back then.
Okay, I have many, but maybe if you ask me to name one, it might be John Nunn, Secrets of Practical Chess.
It was a Russian book, Travel to Chess Kingdom by Averbach and David.
A real mix there, from the Dvoretsky to the chess traps and zaps and.
Yeah, obviously that also shows where, let's say, the player grew, because in Soviet times there was abundance of chess literature of all kinds, and definitely when you hear Boris Gelfand, and actually he mentions the same book which I was referring to. So it's the books, unfortunately today have very few books you can call masterpieces or something, because top players nowadays very rarely contribute with any good book or something. Even with a commentary of their games, they're typically very, how would I say, shallow. Just immediately after the game, maybe with some computer analysis, and that's it. I mean, the art of deep annotation and so on has gone. I mean, nobody today would spend a week to analyze and to present to public. Maybe they will analyze and store it for themselves. But
yeah, I kind of also feel like the engines are doing the hard work for us.
That's true. Largely that's true, and that's why actually the series, which was authored by Boris Gelfand, is very nice, especially the first book. I think the first book is a masterpiece. the rest of the series are all very high quality, but the first book of it I would single out.
Yeah, no, my experience with chess books, having written some opening books, is that you're either producing them on a monthly basis where you're just churning them out, or it's a passion project where it's a real labor of love, and there you just find a chess player that you like for instance, reading about Morphy, fantastic book. Also Capablanca, Alexander Cholovitz wrote also a very, very nice small book on Capablanca, which just reinvigorated my love for the game. Because as a kid, one of the first books that made me actually fall in love with chess was the one by Capablanca, because it's very small, very short, but also very simple to understand. So I mean, it's an exciting time.